Hey, it's Aaron, Metal Theologian. It's funny, it's early for me because it's already dark out, but it's not like 1 in the morning, so it's an unusual time to do it. But I gotta crank this out. I'm going out of town tomorrow night actually too. We're driving out to New England again, so yeah, visiting my wife's family. Some shit going on there, but that's not what this channel's about. Just about having fun and enjoying some records and shit. And actually, something I've been thinking about lately that I don't know why this has been on my mind. I just find this incredibly amusing. I just learned kind of recently that it's an American thing to measure distance in time. I never really thought about it before, but I totally do that. How far am I from Atlanta? About 4 hours, shit like that. How far am I from Charlotte? About 3 hours, How far am I from Hartford, Connecticut? 14 or 15 theoretically if you're going straight through, but by the time you actually stop a few times, then it's more like 17 or 18, Yeah, as far as how many miles it is though, I really don't know. I mean, I could take a guess at it. I've driven it enough times at this point. I have an idea, but I don't actually know, So yeah, well, I got a couple specific records I want to hype. In particular, one that might surprise you a little bit. So hopefully it'll surprise you a lot because it's a great surprise. But this is what we're listening to right now. This is Loosely Tight. I kind of got to blame Alan for this one. In fact, I got to blame Alan for a couple of these. This is from Let's Talk Metal. Go subscribe if you're not already. You may already know him from Heavy Metallurgy, but his channel's fantastic too. Yeah, I thought this band was kind of mediocre for the longest time. And, where are they from? I think they're from Phoenix or something like that. Somewhere in the Southwest. He's up on the southwestern U.S. metal in a way that I'm really not, which is kind of funny that there'd be a region that he's strong on and I'm particularly weak at. Just sort of worked out that way. But this record's grown on me a lot, man. And in a way, there's nothing special about it. I mean, the cover's kind of funny, but it's not hilarious. A tank on it. They're doing it in the right spirit. It's nice and sparse, kind of old looking and thick cardboard and shit. But it's not that heavy. It's definitely rocking. But I just like the songs, man. It's really growing on me. It's kind of a creep of a record. It's kind of been a creep of a record. What's been even more of a creep of a record for me is this one, actually. I've been listening to a lot of Italian shit lately. On this Black Hole record, I've never not liked this record, just to be clear, okay? I got this a long time ago. It was one of the first Italian records I bought because it had a reputation, and back then, at least, Italian records weren't that expensive. Shit, they're kind of still not compared with, American ones. It's getting over here from Italy that's the expensive part. This one's gone up, though. But, I've never not liked this record. I've always liked it, but it's sort of grown on me a little bit over time, you know what I mean? And I say a little bit. Every time I listen to this record, I like it a little bit more, you know what I mean? And I pull it out. This isn't a once-a-year pull-out. This is a quarterly pull-out, something like that, because someone hypes it, Dan from the Colosseum or Alan or someone else, and everyone loves this record. And I love the guy's name is Robert Measles. And how can you argue with that, It's like that tiny gas coffin kind of steals the show on this back cover, but the fucking guy's name is Measles, Robert Measles. And of course, Blind Men in a Cult Force is a great title. Yeah, it's doomy, and it's doomy in that sort of weird Italian way, It's weirder than this one, which is also just kind of, Italian and doomy. And very cool too, But I don't know, man. The Black Hole record, I don't want to say I'm coming around on it because I've always liked it, but it's I like it a little bit more every time I listen to it, The Loosely Tight record, in contrast, first couple listens, I was like, whatever, put it away. And then I pulled it out one day and I was like, God damn, this is really fucking good, And then I listened to it a couple more times and I was like, I love this fucking record, man. And if you asked me to really sort of articulate why, which is probably why you're watching this fucking video, now that I'm thinking about it, it's a little bit hard to say what stands out about these guys, But I think it goes to the fact that it's just a good band with good songs and a halfway decent image. I mean, Loosely Tight is kind of a shitty band name, right? And Fighting Society is a little bit trite. But they have the tank on the cover, you know. Go halfway on that shit and you can totally ride that out, man. All it takes are some good songs and a solid performance, which this definitely is, you know. The sound quality is even pretty good for being a private pressing, you know. Alright. So I've actually been listening to a lot of jazz lately. It's funny, I've been listening to jazz during the day and then listening to metal at night. I haven't been hooked on Isaac anymore. In fact, I've been playing Slay the Spire. But I've generally been listening to metal records when I'm playing Slay the Spire. But like while I'm working and shit, I'll listen to jazz. And so, I've been pulling shit out here and there. I've been listening to a lot of Fats Navarro. And a lot of this sort of like, late big band era, like into the bebop era stuff. This is a little bit later than that, actually. This is like 1950-ish, I think. Yeah. Anyway, though, I actually listened to a little bit of Glenn Miller online today, so I've been listening to some of the old jazz, and I like that stuff. I don't collect that shit like I do with the bands, with the smaller bands, sort of starting with the hard bop era. That's why I'm not as into it, you know what I mean? I don't need to have like a collection of that shit, but the other thing too is since that was all recorded on 78s, that's kind of a fool's errand to go and try and hunt that down. Just too much effort. I just don't feel like going down that rabbit hole. If I really loved it and cared about it, that'd be one thing, but I don't, I just like it a lot. Anyway, Fats Navarro is awesome. I already had volume 1 of this, so I got volume 2. But here's one that I pulled out, man, that I don't think I've ever heard anyone else talk about this, and this is a fantastic record, man. And that is New Ideas by Don Ellis. Okay, look at that cover. Not the most promising cover. When I first got into jazz, you could get these Scorpio reissues for like $8 to $10 at places like Rasputin's or Amoeba. I was in San Francisco at the time. So it was really easy. You walk in there with $50 in your pocket and walk out with 5 new records you never heard before. And if one of them was kind of a clunker, well, whatever. You learned something new by listening to it. At least that's how I approached it. You know what I mean? It's like, oh yeah, I like this guy more than that guy. That's developing taste. You know what I mean? And a lot of the guys I didn't like to start with, I ended up coming around on eventually anyway, Like Dave Brubeck is kind of a big example of that for me, but that was a little bit later. This Don Ellis one, the only reason I can think of that I would have bought this, actually I think it was used, so it was probably like $5 or $6, but it's on the New Jazz label, or sub-label Prestige. I did try to grab those when I found them, because there's some really good ones. There's some lame ones too, like, I'm not crazy about, I think it's Roland Alexander. Let me make sure I've got it right, I don't want to like shit on the wrong guy here. Yeah, this is a new jazz record, Pleasure Vent by Roland Alexander. Didn't do a whole lot for me. And there's a Ken McIntyre record on New Jazz that I think is really boring too. Like there's a Steve Lacy that's great, Mal Waldron's okay. I think Mal Waldron's kind of overrated in the vinyl community, but anyway, so that's pretty much all I had to go on. I'm actually going to just fire this up for a couple minutes because it's a really bold record in its own way, and it's one of those that like is not like a free jazz record. Young trumpeter, he was. I think this is 1961, this record, yeah. So like, Ornette Coleman was already out there doing his thing, and but John Coltrane hadn't gone free jazz yet. It was still kind of fringe in that, and some of these guys were listening to it and being influenced by it. I've talked about this a lot. Guys like Andrew Hill and Jackie McLean and shit like that, were sort of they weren't doing what Cecil Taylor was doing, but they were taking some cues, And this kind of falls into that category, and I just think it's fantastic, man. Bobby Hutcherson is another one too, who did a lot of that stuff. Bobby Hutcherson, who kind of brought me around on vibes in jazz. I didn't like that shit going in, but it's really kind of funny how many instruments I didn't like in jazz that I had to come around on. I didn't like vibes. I didn't like guitar. Grant Green won me over on guitar. That was a full immersion tactic, you know what I mean? Not like... Actually, Gabor Szabo is on Drum Fusion by Chico Hamilton. Actually, I'm going to pull it out because it's a great record, and this is another underrated one, too. I'll let you hear a minute of Don Ellis. Yeah, this specific record, man, I swear, I'm kind of lukewarm on Chico Hamilton generally, and by lukewarm I mean like lukewarm and good. You know, like I never get mad at a Chico Hamilton record, but it's not very often I put on a Chico Hamilton record and go, "Oh, this blew my fucking mind." But this one is fucking fantastic, man. And it's, you know, it's really early Columbia label. I don't know how hard to find this is now. This is just some kind of weirdo reissue where, anyway, there's a guitar on this, which never bothered me, okay? But, like, to get into, like, get jazzy guitar for real, I listened to Green Street, which is just, like, him with, it was just a trio. So, you know, guitar really up front and center, and I kind of got my head around and got into it, too. Bobby Hutcherson kind of did it for me with the vibes. And then not too long ago, I got a jazz accordion record. I'm not sure if I showed that or not. I might not have. And you know what's funny about jazz accordion? It doesn't sound like it would work, but it works a lot better than you'd expect. Like jazz accordion. Okay, so like there's Rufus Harley's this jazz bagpipes player. I really don't think that works very well. I only have one record of his, but I haven't pulled it out in years. I don't love it, you know what I mean? The accordion, man, like it has kind of a weird tone, but like if you already spend a lot of time listening to shit like Sun Ra, where he's using weird synths in there and shit like you know, like I like to listen to, the accordion isn't really all that weird, you know. Also, if you listen to a lot of organ jazz, you know, like a lot of soul jazz with that Hammond organ shit going on, it's kind of in there somewhere. It doesn't really sound all that strange, so that was surprising, but it's not a great record, so, you know, not gonna go nuts for it. Yeah, this record though, trumpet vibes, piano, bass, and drums is the lineup. And Yaki Bayard is on piano and Ron Carter on bass. But other than that, I don't really know the other two guys, Al Francis and Charlie Persip. I recognize Charlie Persip's name. Maybe someone can educate me if they want, but I don't know. So this is like a really cool sort of jazz record as far as like the drive and that sort of thing goes. And then there are these weird sections to it. Like there was that thing at the beginning where he was doing that thing on the trumpet. And there's a long like bass solo towards the end of the first side, which is just really cool and interesting. And yeah, so who else have I pulled out? I pulled out some George Russell then. This is probably still my favorite George Russell record, but I kind of have a bunch. Pete LaRocca on drums on this one. Yeah, there's another one. I just sort of got to check it out because I heard he was important, but yeah. George Russell's actually an interesting guy. Like, if you're really into this shit, he kind of, I don't know if developed is the right word, but worked out like the theory that a lot of like, you know, modal jazz and modal jazz forward is kind of based on. He wrote this book which was really influential among jazz musicians called The Lydian Chromatic Concept of Tonal Organization. And basically he argued that like, he noticed that if you go around the circle of fifths and build a scale out of the notes, that you end up with a Lydian mode. So like, God, can I even still do this in this spot? C, G, D, A, E, B, F sharp. So the F sharp would make, if you put arrangements in a scale, the F sharp is what makes that a Lydian mode. And there's some other shit around it too, like tonal gravity. It creates a 13th chord in a certain way. I'm not at that level with the music theory and shit like that. But George Russell not only was, but he wrote a book about it. He spent a lot of time sitting around with people like Miles Davis and John Coltrane, and his shit was like a big influence on records like Kind of Blue, you know, Giant Steps. So you'll see his, you'll see him getting songwriting credits in some places you wouldn't necessarily expect, you know, this random guy to turn up. But yeah, a lot of people really cared about what George Russell said. And fortunately, his own records are good too. I mean, I have a bunch and they're all like really cool. Again, same sort of thing. It's like they're really interesting harmonically. He's doing this cool shit with the modes and that sort of thing. And it's not like free jazz, like in your face, like balls out, like a Pharoah Sanders record. Like the kind of Pharoah Sanders record that got me to get a little sick of Pharoah Sanders, to tell you the truth. But yeah, here's this little interlude here. I mean, it's not an interlude, it's a song, but it feels like an interlude, you know? Almost sounds like it should be an ESP record. Yeah, though, that's this fucking record. Don Ellis. And it's awesome, man. So good. Oh, I promised I was going to show another metal record that Alan sort of suckered me into seeking out. That's this this Arion one. I don't know what's up with that name. Probably some Greek poet or something like that. Arion. It's kind of a dumb name, and it's kind of a funny cover too. This fucking kid likes to go to their toys, and they're like peeking in the window. I'm not quite as creeped out by this as some people seem to be. It more just seems kind of ridiculous than anything. But you know, it is called Rebels of the Night, and you wonder who the Rebels of the Night are. Similar, because these guys, well, I mean, they're dressing like they look rebellious, you know. And this guy there almost has the face going. These guys have no mustache game, but they're also Americans, so, you know. Americans in the 80s were kind of over mustaches. Germany is where the mustache action was happening in the 80s. This is 83, so it's another relatively early one. Nice thick cardboard and shit. And some of the songs are just good. This one's a little bit more sort of clearly metal, though, than the Loosely Tight one that I played before. This one's like, you know, just straight ahead. They knew what they were doing. They were probably listening to, like, Accept and shit like that. You know what I mean? And that's a cool record. I don't know. You know, here's another one I appreciated a lot more than I did the last time I talked about it. It was the Shite record. Because it's such a funny name. I think I kind of just, like, lampooned that. But I put this on again last night, and this fucking thing rocks, man. Like, it's solid, and it's coherent. Like, the way the sides sort of arc and shit like that. The album has an arc. What's to do with those fucking plastic whistles and shit? It's a little bit corny, Don Ellis, but it's okay. Shadow under a cross of one holy yoke at the twilight of the earth. Oh yeah, that's where the acronym comes from. I'm not even going to talk about the fact anymore that they're called Shite, because this record is awesome. God, it's too easy. I would say, yeah, it's called The Darkness Comes, but it's not. It's actually called The Darkness Comes. See the ellipses there? This record smokes, man. It really does. I mean, don't go out and spend $100 on it, but if you come across this thing, this is a really good record, man. Songs are there, the playing is there, and it just has a lot of character. You know what I mean? It has a lot of that Italianness going on too, right? But it just has its own character, like even among Italians, you know? It's like, yeah, if you like Italian metal, man, you really kind of need this Shite record too. You know, it's not gonna replace your Old Iron record or your Black Hole record. But you want to know something? Right now, I think I'm probably more high on that Shite record than I'm on Black Hole. But there are people who consider that blasphemy. That might even include me, but we'll see. You know, I change my mind all the time in these videos. All right, here's the other one I want to fucking put you all onto. There's another jazz one here, or sort of jazz, and that is this record. I know Bill from Bill's Box of Sound knows this shit, but a lot of people don't, man. It's fucking Soundproof, the sound of tomorrow, today. Who is this? I'm actually not even going to tell you. I'm going to put it on for a minute. So I hear how fucking weird this record is. There's another old one. And it's actually by a very famous group. Maybe group is putting a little bit strongly. All right, I'm going to pick my favorite track off this, the one that sort of won me over. It's called Man from Mars. All right, I might have to put it down a little bit. No, it's right there. Man, I don't know exactly how they did these sounds. I want to say it's like prepared piano and shit like that. Because it's all like piano, right? Because I'll give it up. These are actually from the heroes of the thrift store. Ferrante and Teicher. And this is a cool fucking record, man. Like, forget about like all those fucking records clogging the... You know, that's what you find at the thrift store. You know what I mean? It's probably why I don't really go to thrift stores anymore. Like, there have always been like the 101 strings and the Ferrante and Teicher records and shit like that sitting in there. You know, Burl Ives. That shit's still there, but you're not gonna find this one. A friend of mine did, actually, in San Francisco back in the 90s and put me onto it. I kind of forgot about it. Just recently went, wait, I need that record, man. Anyway, I just think this is amazing. And the fact that it's these fucking clowns, you know, if this is the kind of shit they were into, and they just made fucking, you know, did Hawaii Five-0 theme song albums and shit like that, like fucking just one corny record after another, just like covering the most like basic brain shit, you know what I mean? I suppose if that made them money, I can't really begrudge them that, you know what I mean? Everyone gotta eat, you know? But this shit is so good. You know what this kind of is actually? This is kind of what I wish Bob James's Free Jazz album sounded like. Because he did a record for ESP2 that's just not very good, man. It's a free jazz record, you know, and it's Bob James playing it. But the shit he did on CTI in the 70s was probably better than that free jazz. Yeah, this fucking record is great, though. There's some missteps on this one as far as, like, the song choice. There's, like, a Christmas Carol on here. Well, they do green sleeves. Yeah, actually, I think I was just thinking of green sleeves, so... Dumbass. I'm going to start from the beginning again, just to let it run while I jabber on for a few more minutes. Yeah, anyway, man, they did a couple others like this one, too. There's one called Blast Off, which I kind of want to find, too, but, you know, even this early, they were kind of, I don't know, I was going to say outside of my usual fare, but I guess they really weren't, man. I'm just having a hard time accepting it because it's fucking Ferrante and Teicher. This is cool, though. I mean, this is great. So yeah, there's an act I bet you thought I wouldn't see hyped over here. So what else do we have to show off? Here's the metal one I played a couple times. It's not as heavy as it looks, unfortunately, but good songs. Recorded in Alaska by Shogun. It's funny because the Attack Music Corporation has an address in New York, but it was recorded in Alaska. So I don't know, man. Maybe this was actually a label and not just like a private press sort of, you know, glorified. Now I'm curious. I mean, that Attack label looks pretty, you know, it looks kind of private pressy. Produced by Steve Tatler. That's interesting. I thought I read somewhere these guys are from the UK. Maybe they like went to Alaska from Britain and did that. But I could be wrong. I don't know, man. I read some shit. Sometimes I retain it. Sometimes I don't. Yeah, I'll throw that one on for a minute. In fact, what the hell? Sometimes it's easier than just trying to describe something, especially if I listen to it in a day or two, you know? So I don't know if I could be like your magazine, like rock critic, you know? I don't know that I have the discipline to sit there and like listen to a record a bunch of times, you know? Like on the Album Club on Metallurgy, you know, the Wednesday night show. They'll come in and be like, yeah, I listened to this record like 8 times this week. I'm like, Jesus Christ, dude. I have to be really flying high on a record to listen to it 8 times in 1 week. You know, when I say I've been listening to this record every day, by my standards, it's a very strong statement. All right, so here's a little Shogun. You can see how it's a little bit wimpy, but, you know, amusing, fun. Like how metal should be, right? I mean, it should be like, the image should be dark and like full of angst and like murder and shit. Yeah, see, it's not super heavy. Actually, the first song's one of the wimpier ones, so I'm going to bump it ahead. I think this video's about long enough. Yeah. I don't think I've ever done a feature on Italian metal, so I think I might do that sometime in the not too distant future. Yeah, we'll see though, man. Here's another record I finally broke down and gave a chance to, man. I saw this around when it came out. Like, this is that reissue, right? I'm not going to pay for an original. But I really kind of balked at this shit because I really never give the slightest shit about Guns N' Roses. I mean, to me, I still don't really accept them as a metal band. You know what I mean? They were like something else. Which is fine. It's just not for me. I don't really give a shit about it. And I had like the original version, because you could find this shit in LA at the time. I had the original of the album too, and I also had an original of Live Like a Suicide. But I don't have those anymore. Anyway, I decided to give this one a chance. Roll the dice for, $20, whatever it was. And something, it's pretty good. The songs are pretty good. It sounds like underground and like not so like not slick the way like a lot of the sort of glam shit tended to go and get crappy. So yeah, I think that I'm okay with LA Guns. Don't expect me to be showing any of their like big label albums anytime soon. I can handle this one. So there we go. It's a little late for it, but it's kind of a new wave of British heavy metal sound on the Shogun record, right? It's 85, I think I said. Fuck, man, who knows? Yeah, 86. So as is my wont, I'm not going to sit here and pretend to designate these guys a new wave of anything, because if this is coming out the same year as Rain and Blood, you can't really tell me this is the new wave of anything. This is the old wave by that point, you know what I mean? But that doesn't mean it isn't great and fun, Anyway, if I bought a 45 and it sounded like this, I wouldn't be too bummed out, man. I'd be pretty happy with it, so. I said something about how I was doing this video like spontaneously at the beginning. I just realized I don't have a drink and I don't have my e-cigarette. And usually those are like my little things that I, use to manage my oral fixations while I'm filming this shit, But there we go. Look how spontaneous this shit was. Not completely, actually. I was definitely one to hype that Don Ellis record and the Ferrante and Teicher, because they're in different ways, but they're just both surprising records, man, and surprising in a really sort of cool and well, surprising in the way that makes collecting records so much fun, right? All right. Thanks for watching. That's it. I'm gonna go find my vape now. I want one little hit. I think it sounds better than it is. It's just to keep me off cigarettes. Talk soon. Hope you're doing great, man. And I'll see you next time.